my god, guys!
We found it! Balls!
Mega Man X, yeah! Jumping and shooting and dashing, classic 2D side-scrolling action at its finest. What else could you ask for? I must say that as much as I love Mega Man X's high points in terms of games, the low points are seriously low for me. X3, X5, and X7 are all either really bad or extremely mediocre when looking at the actual game design. But X3's quality is pretty debatable if you look into it. So many points of these three just aren't well put together, and you could really see where the Mega Man series fussed? Okay, I'm going with that. So many points of these three just aren't well put together, and you can really see where the Mega Man series first took its decline. They're pretty much just boring and unfun slogs to go through, and most of the time, I don't understand how many of their problems slip past QA. Although X7 I go back to occasionally to hear the absolutely stellar voice acting. Let's take a listen! Oh, what's that? Oh, there's a game I'm forgetting about? It can't be X8, it can't be X4, that game's good. Oh no. Mega Man X6. What a mess of a game you are. This is where I think the X series itself took a massive nosedive in terms of quality, mainly in terms of the gameplay itself. If you look up the word lazy in the dictionary, the first thing you see is Mega Man X6. At the time, Mega Man as a series was very oversaturated and is what I think led to the decline of the franchise. And during this oversaturated period, we saw a lot of below-average Mega Man content. Mega Man X6 wasn't even supposed to happen because the story was meant to conclude at the end of X5. If Capcom went with that vision, sure we would have less games, but we also wouldn't complain about X's haphazard story. Many sections of X6 just feel rushed and thrown together with no extra thought about it. From the terrible translation to English or to the horrid stage design, everything just feels like there was no vision. Sure, the concepts in X6 have a lot of potential, but were absolutely screwed up in execution. If you're a newcomer going into the X series, do not start here. You won't enjoy it. Okay, I'll try and give this game a fair shot. It has been said over and over how much this game sucks, but I think it's about time where I just try, rather attempt, to find something I enjoy other than the soundtrack in this game.
Swing your arms from side to...
Well, since I guess I just mentioned it, I should bring up the soundtrack, and yep, it's really great. Well, I'm not a fan of most of the music of the PS1 Mega Man X games, because I find them to be a little bit too samey. X6 does a good job at making each track feel and sound different. They all use different instruments for the songs, and I honestly think that is the best PS1 X soundtrack. X5 is a close second, mainly because of Zero Stage 2 being another jam. I know it's pretty dumb of me to start the review by talking about the soundtrack, but in all honesty, it's probably the only part of X6 that I truly enjoy. There are a couple stinkers in the soundtrack, not because they're bad, but mainly because they're pretty repetitive. Ground Scaravich's stage is pretty ear-grating if you listen to it long enough. Just take a listen. Are you enjoying the soundtrack, guys? It's just the same note a few times over and over again! And there's also the boss theme, which although I enjoy, it is also pretty repetitive once you hear it for the 1000th time while fighting godforsaken Infinity Magician. Anyways, actually talking about the game itself, X6 starts off with some story exposition, introducing this new character, Gate, finding a strange part in the debris after the Eurasian colony disaster. After a bit, Gate goes absolutely insane and decides to transform Earth into a planet only suitable for high-class Reploids. After this, we cut to X having a dream featuring Zero, telling him that there is no one else left to fight. Yeah, nice going, translation. This dream abruptly gets interrupted by Alia, who tells X to go out and investigate a giant maverick over where the Eurasia colony fell. And I'm sorry, but X's face here is just hilarious to me. He's just done with his life, and I would be too if I had to deal with more of this nonsense. Welcome to the intro stage, and hang on, let me rebind my dash to R. Okay, there we go. So this intro stage isn't all too bad. It introduces a lot of new concepts that this game is going to be using, such as the newly added Z-Saber for X. While definitely not as strong or fast as Zero's, it still is a pretty reliable way to dish out some extra damage in a tight situation, even when the hitbox is a little odd sometimes. And yes, if you were wondering, you can dash cancel with it. Most of the enemies in this level are all very easy to take down without it though. However, these metal obstacles that impede your progress need the Z-Saber to be destroyed. Oh, what's that I hear? Boss time? Well, where is it?
What? It's big!
This guy is a pretty easy first boss, but it's a good one. Most intro fights never really put up much of a fight, and while the same could be said about this guy, he's definitely a little bit more difficult than the rest. When I first played this game, I thought that you could only damage the body itself and not the little robot thing controlling it. But I was an idiot kid back then, and I'm smarter now. Before you could finish it off, a grape-flavored Zero pops out of nowhere and deals the final blow, causing both X and Alia to be really confused about what just happened. But before anything else is explained, a new character comes swooping in. This guy is Heatnix. Or as he says, "Hi Max, I am called
Max, what do you want for dinner?"
Justice.
And he claims that he suspected that Zero was a part of this new phenomena that we just witnessed known as the Nightmare. Hymax believes that X is somehow connected to the Nightmare and deems him as dangerous. Whoa, chill out, man! I'm just a confused Reploid! This is sort of like a Vile situation from X1 where Hymax can't be damaged by our starting weapon and just humiliates us. It's a scripted sequence, but I think X1 did a way better job at establishing a sense of helplessness here. Once X returns home, this politician, Isaac, addresses the dangerous effects of the Nightmare virus, and asks for 8 Nightmare investigators along with Maverick Hunters to go out across the globe and help him get rid of the virus for good. The 8 investigators stand as our bosses this time around, and don't really offer anything new to the table in terms of personality. They might as well be Mavericks themselves and nothing would be different. But anyways, let's start at our first level. Welcome to the jungle. It gets worse here every day. And by every day I mean every stage revisit, but we'll get back to that later. As a starting stage, Yamark is an excellent option, mainly because it's extremely easy and offers the only reliably good weapon after you beat the boss. Not only is this stage easy, it's also pretty fun too. The only problem with it is these weird leaps of faith near the end. It's like, why is this here? Its music combined with the stage's overall aesthetic really gives off a chill and relaxing atmosphere. These praying mantis bug enemies can go die in a hole though. They're needlessly spammed throughout the whole stage and they just take way too much damage to kill. This problem with enemy variety is almost as bad as X3's, where it feels like the same 2 or 3 enemies are just spammed throughout the entire game. And this problem just gets... oh, it gets much worse as we go through the game, trust me.
Tasty donut!
As for collectibles, the heart tank and light capsule are just hidden off to the side and really aren't that hard to miss. The sub-tank, however, is really annoying because until you get a very specific upgrade, this thing just mocks you, but I digress. You may notice the abundance of rescuable Reploids scattered throughout this stage, and I hope you get used to seeing them because they're practically everywhere in this game. Instead of giving you extra lives in X5, these guys have the possibility of giving you special parts for the returning part system. This sounds awesome, but there are 2 big features added to this game that really make it annoying. For one, these Reploids can be killed for good if one of these spaghetti DNA looking enemies grab a hold of them. And if those Reploids have a part that you needed, bye-bye! You ain't getting it, so start the game over and load up a backup save. And secondly, you can never tell whether the Reploid you're rescuing even has one of these parts in the first place. Sure, you could look up a guide, but they could have made these guys more distinct with their look. Maybe change their color palette or something. But anyways, back to Yamark's stage. We finally get to Yamark himself, and little 9-year-old me was shocked to find out that Yamark is actually a guy and not a girl. It was definitely the animation he has of his long eyelashes batting at me in his portrait. This is probably an experience that a lot of others can share while playing this game. As for Yamark's boss, however, it's pretty easy. Just be sure to dodge incoming hurdles of lasers by jumping or dashing over them. He really isn't a problem. A few charge shots later and he's dead. You're rewarded with the Yamark option, which like I said before is probably the only reliable special weapon out of X6's lackluster arsenal of mediocrity. It's 3 bugs which circle around X which shoot these strong energy balls which just tear through enemies in a snap, making it really easy to take care of annoying enemies on repeat stage of revisits. Before we're allowed to fight another investigator, we're treated to a cutscene where, oh big surprise! Isaac is working for Gate. Wow. Wow! Next thing you tell me, the next stage sucks donkey dick! Yep, that's right, we're fighting a dung beetle, and what a fitting boss for a stage that's essentially a log of poo. This stage's main gimmick are these totem poles which transport you to a randomly chosen child, which after beating, forces you to fight a short mini-boss against the totem itself. Okay. Alright, that doesn't sound too bad. I am thoroughly convinced that the person who designed this level just gave up. There is absolutely no reason why there should be 1,000 of these nightmare viruses in every single section of this level. And because you don't have any parts or upgrades, these guys just don't die in one hit to a well-aimed charge shot. So you just get swarmed by these guys constantly, and they just drain your health. What is this, middle school? And to make things even worse, the chance of you getting one, 2, or neither of the collectibles is entirely random. So there's a possibility that you can play through this stage multiple times and not complete it. No! This is not how you design a stage! This is terrible! And for the boss himself? He's okay. Oh, and if you think the pain ends there, then you have a very high expectation. This stage is a dumpster fire, and the only way I can describe this stage's issues to you is by getting past one dang screen. These things, and yes, I said these, there are multiple of these guys in this level. Each one is more cumbersome to deal with than the rest. The only way to damage these things is by shooting its giant green nipples. The ones on the bottom side you can take out no problem, but the ones on the top are infuriating. The hitboxes on them just feel too small, and trying to hit them with your puny charge shot is near pixel perfect. And you have to repeat the same back and forward, every single time. And you know what? I'm craving donuts! This goes on for the whole stage, and it just never ends. What was Capcom thinking? And the best part about all of this is that Heatnix himself is... He's bad. He's real bad. He dies so easily to his weakness. Disregard the fact that I died. He dies so easily to his weakness, and all of his attacks are super easy to dodge to boot. Jeez, just give me this guy's weapon and leave me alone. Ah! Don't worry, because we're gonna be coming back here near the end game. Because there's something very important that I need to find that's in this hellhole. Hey everybody, check it out, a space level. Despite how short this level is when not going for completion, it's honestly pretty fun. The only thing that I could say is really the downside of the stage is the fact that the collectibles are just put side by side right to the left here. Like, come on, man. I get that the stage is very open and is essentially just a straight line, but you could put these two somewhere else. However, to get these two collectibles, you need to jump into this portal that spawns after you defeat the giant robot at the beginning of the stage. This portal takes you to an alternate route which leads you to a fight with Nightmare Zero, which eventually gets replaced with Heatnix once you defeat him. But because I don't want that, I have to waste my very easily earned 9 lives by getting a game over and heading to my next objective. This is one of the most annoying parts of X6 for me. I had to do this about 3 times in the entire run. And you may be saying, but Blake, can't you just exit the stage after entering these portals if you're revisiting? Well, that's a great question, little Timmy. Really? My question for you is, why didn't they put that feature in? Yeah, that's right. So you can't exit a stage once you enter these portals. So you either have to game over or kill Nightmare Zero or Heatnix. Don't worry though, we'll be coming back to Majinion's stage later, but we gotta pick up some stuff from Shield Sheldon now. we will not be here for a while for two major reasons. One, because this stage is insultingly short. Like, it's literally just a couple of screens and then you're at the boss door. On first playthrough, I actually thought that this was where either Heatnix or Nightmare Zero would be because there was just no way that this stage was this short. But nope, it was. In this footage, you may notice a bunch of little bugs floating around X, and these are the effects of the ongoing Nightmare virus. If you previously visited a stage, which in this case Commander Yamark's just to get a stray sub-tank, some stages on the stage select will go under the effects of the previously visited stage. Now the game supposedly tells you what stages are under the effect of the virus when the stage is highlighted in red, but this is hardly ever the case. So essentially, this game just lies to you. How fun, yeah. Anyways, you guys like ice?
No!
Oh, and I should probably bring up the fact that I now have the blade armor. The blade armor's defining features are its larger lingering charge shot and the 4-way mid-air dash. After you get this armor, you can basically kiss the Falcon armor goodbye because this one just replaces it in so many levels. The larger charge shot is not only practical, but also deals way more damage, making it more of a reliable weapon. But back to Wolfang. I don't have anything that crazy to comment on for this stage, mainly because it's so simple, but I gotta say, after all the garbage that this game has put you through up to this very point, just receiving a nice break from the chaos is very rewarding. Wolfang himself, along with the rest of the bosses in this game, go down in a snap. If you're not using his weakness, this guy can actually be quite a little bit of a challenge. But if you do use his weakness, yeah, cool. It's raining, it's pouring, X is soaring, this game is boring, this game is boring, this game is boring, wow. Just to avoid the painful nightmare effect in this stage, I set up my route just right so you won't have to play this with the awful limited visibility from Maginian stage. I don't know how anybody expected you to enjoy playing this with this effect, especially this stage. The main gimmick here is that every few sections there are these screens with acid rain that slowly drain your health, and you need to destroy these really small eyeballs to turn off the machine that's generating all the rain. And I don't think this level is all too bad, unless you're going for completion. So basically every collectible is in this small area over here, and to get them, you need to make pixel-perfect dashes through these narrow spikes. And I'm not kidding, pixel-perfect. In fact, just to avoid having to grind my life away at this part, I turned on Rookie Hunter mode because I'm a big entitled baby. Who thought that this was a good idea? I'm convinced the level designer was going through a divorce! What is this baloney? Alright, Turtleoid is here and he's a big boy. But with his weakness, he's just like all the other bosses. And say it with me, kids! He dies in seconds! Yay!
I don't like this one.
All it is just a boring, lifeless stage that feels like it goes on forever. Shark Player himself is a boss fight. Certainly a bit better than the other schmucks this game forces us to endure. But still, it's like going from fighting Professor Nakayama to fighting Leader from the Incredible Hulk.
You may be a walking apocalypse, but I've got my brains, and my guns, and this ship! I may just have a chance again!
Hey guys, Editor Blake here. I forgot to talk about Shield Sheldon's boss fight in the script, but let's be honest, we all knew what was gonna happen in the end. Okay, let's go fight Mr. Infinity Maginity. You have no idea how much I hate that bubble sound. You may be wondering why I brought the new Shadow Armor into this stage, and the reason for that is because the Giga attack on this thing absolutely destroys Maginian and his clones. Once you attack him, 9 out of 10 times he will clone himself, and the fight gradually just becomes more and more frustrating as you go through it. Dodging this guy's attacks are near impossible without some precise movement, which is something that I do not have. Although this fight is considered to be really difficult, I consider it to be a fun challenge when you have the shadow armor. Also, I think it makes everything a lot easier, what with the Giga attack and everything. So, after Gate's cronies are all defeated, Gate shows up as a green hologram thing and congratulates X on his triumph. Because he's so impressed, Gate invites X to come have a little playdate with him at his house. So whatever, just another set of final stages for us to go through. Secret Lab 1 isn't all too bad, but its enemy spammage is pretty annoying. Also, the first part of this stage completely threw me off when I was younger because you basically need the shadow armor to climb these spike walls to even progress in this level. Lucky now that I'm older, I figured it all out, but this is still an odd design choice. But for this game, I'm very used to it. Every gimmick in this game has been handled poorly and absolutely ruined what could have been an excellent set of stages. But I digress. There are these lava segments in this level which really hurt you and are meant to invoke a sense of urgency, sort of like how Quickman in Mega Man 2 was. But they really aren't too challenging once you know how they work. Now, I've been saying that this level itself is pretty okay, but the boss at the end is a complete travesty. This thing is the Nightmare Mother, and is what I consider to be the final nail in the coffin when it comes to the bosses in Mega Man X6. This right here is what ruined the entire game for me. Not that it already has been ruined, but whatever. There are absolutely no telegraphs for any of her attacks, and when she does attack, your dodging skills have to be immaculate. If you manage to get past this boss with Naked X, you deserve a Purple Heart. Jesus Christ. I got so frustrated with this fight that I just said screw it and turned on Rookie Hunter mode for about half of its health, and then finished it off normally. This boss would have been completely fine if there was just some semblance of readable patterns and simple information given to the player. Because without it, this boss is just a massive gamble, which really leaves a bad taste in my mouth after playing a pretty okay stage. Gate then taunts X and Alia, and reveals his entire plan to the both of them, and even shows the scrap of Zero that he found in the debris caused by the Eurasia Colony accident, which he claims is making it too easy on creating the nightmare and building Heatnix. Secret Lab 2 is truly where I feel the level design just breaks in half. And just for a heads up, bring the blade armor into this level. Without it, you won't be able to cheese a lot of the sections here, and you physically won't be able to get past this bottomless pit here. I would sound more frustrated about this, but I've already beat it into your heads that this game's level design is utter trash no matter how way you put it. You should be able to beat these games without getting any upgrades. Sure, it's harder that way, but if you don't want to go out of your way to collect everything and just want to beat the game as fast as possible, then that should be allowed. The whole point of Mega Man was the element to just be able to do whatever you want in whatever order you want. X6 just throws this concept out of the window and basically forces the player to play the way that Capcom wanted you to. I don't care if this game was rushed out of the door because someone, just a single guy, could have walked up to the dev team and said,
"Oh, this is broken, we gotta fix this."
But no. Oh look, it's Heatnix. What a way to end the stage, he's dead. You may think that after the stage completed jingle plays that Heatnix concluded Secret Lab 2, but nope, this stage just keeps on going. The second half of Secret Lab 2 is once again pretty boring. It brings back Rainy Turtleoid's rain gimmick, but you have more than enough time to deal with it. Alright, so after a pretty lame half of stage, we finally make it to Gate himself. Yeah, how's it going, you purple punk? See all that junk you put me through? Yeah, totally breezed right through it.
Well, X, welcome to my boss room. Allow me to change into something more comfortable. Oh god, he's yellow now!
Gate's boss fight isn't all too bad, even though most of it takes place over a bottomless pit. Gate's main form of attacks are his energy balls, which can be hit back at him, causing him to be damaged. So I just use Yamark option to get rid of him, and it's way easier to do it than to use a charge shot. However, this still doesn't deny the fact that this fight is extremely long and boring, making the big bad guy of this game look like a complete joke. Gate is mortally wounded and on the floor, and he lies in disbelief that X has actually beaten him. And I mean, come on, if X already beat your greatest creations all before this, then I'm very surprised you haven't lost hope already. But as a final resort, Gate activates a backup copy of Sigma's body, meaning that once again, Sigma's gonna be the final boss. I would have never seen this coming. Exciting, we have another stage to go through, and thankfully it's just a boss rush with like a room or two of actual enemies. I actually really like taking on these guys with the shadow armor because this Giga attack just shreds through them all.
Hey, Ron. Hey, Billy. That hurt.
This version of Sigma is probably the easiest final boss in the X series. In fact, the next phase after this weird zombie one is even easier to deal with. Since Sigma's body is barely even functional, his mobility is less of and more of just don't waste your Giga Attack on this guy, because the next phase without it will be much longer, and we don't want this game to continue on for much longer, now do we? So now it looks like Sigma dunked himself into a septic tank and gave birth to little booger minions while he was at it. I have very little to say about this fight, mainly because of its difficulty, or should I say, lack thereof. His booger buddies can be taken care of pretty quickly with the charge slash from the Shadow Armor, and Sigma's giant laser can be avoided pretty easily. Remember how I was talking about the Giga Attack I have? Yeah, so the day is saved once again, and the guilty X carries the broken body of Gay with him out of the secret lab, where both him and Alien notice Zero. Wait, what? Okay. Wow, that game was bad. Really bad. This game may have a shiny exterior with all of its graphics and music, but what lies underneath all that is nothing but fool's gold. If you want to get into the X series, then X6 is absolutely not the place to start. This game is utterly relentless for newcomers. I would know. X6 is the third X game that I've ever played, and it left a disgusting taste in my mouth. If you thought X3 was bad, you haven't seen anything until you've seen Mega Man X6. Like, this is a dumpster fire. Who would want to actually play this? And the people who do like it, I envy your ability to care. Do not play this game. Please, I beg of you. I beg you!